saw how we can create a turtle race game. However, that game was not interactive, meaning the turtles were not being controlled by us. They were just being moved on their own. Now in this video, we are going to learn how we can interact with the turtle, how we can control it using different events like key events, the keys that we use like up arrow, down arrow, WASD key to control the character, and as well as we can also see how we can use mouse click to control the turtle. Let's see. Here we are using this arrow keys to move the turtle, and here I am using the click. You press R, it is going to reset. That means the turtle will come back to its position. And if you use F, it is going to make the turtle move freely. Now you don't have to control it, it will randomly move on the screen. So it is an interesting animation game, we can say, and let's get started with that. I'm going to start by importing the important libraries. As we do have a random option, so we are going to import the random library. Now let's check about the screen setup. I'm going to define a variable for this one. Declare a variable. So screen, and for the title, let's use, I'm simply going to say release the turtle. Once that is done, let's add the background color by using beachy color. And I'm going to use somewhere here cyan. It's up to you what color do you want. I do have one more. It's gonna give us the soft blue sky, okay? Let's say soft. Now, once that is done, I'm going to make sure that I have a proper height and width. So here we have it. So for the width, you can have somewhere around 800. Once that is done, we are ready to define the player turtle. So let's use that. Player turtle. So again, we need to declare a variable that's going to represent this turtle. Let's give it the color green. Again, it's totally up to you what color do you want to give, what shape you want to give. So let's add one shape. That being said, I'm going to use the turtle shape. Now here we have used it. Now I don't want it to randomly draw any line while it is moving. So that's why I'm going to use pen up, and then using speed will help me to speed up the process of drawing. Now this is done. Let's go ahead and add some text. So we will again need a turtle. Now every single time anything that you do on the turtle screen, you have a different turtle for that. So to move anything on the screen, you have a different turtle. To write something on the turtle screen, you'll have to add another turtle. So I'm going to name it as text turtle. And this text turtle will not actually show the turtle on the screen. It will only write the text. And then I'm going to take it to a particular location. And here we go. We have black color. Now, this is basically the whole setup. Let's move to the next part, which is to draw the state. What exactly is going to be the state of the turtle when we start the game, which means it needs to be steady. It needs to stay at a one position unless and until we don't do any sort of event, key event. So I'm going to create a Boolean variable, which basically takes only two values, either true or false, okay? So initially we don't want it to be released, right? So that's why we are setting it to false. And the player need to have a pen down. If you remember, above I have set it to pen up. Now when it moves, I really want it to draw while it is moving, only when it is released, okay? Now once that is done, let's talk about writing the instructions. Now talking about instructions, if you will see, we will have to use a concept that will help us to reuse the code that we are writing. Correct? And for that, I'm going to use a special concept in Python, which is known as functions. Functions are basically the set of codes that we can use to do a particular task. So every single time a same task comes, we don't have to rewrite the code. We can simply use the same function that we created previously. Now I'm going to create a function. How do we create it? That's the syntax. DEF keyword basically stands for definition. So function has been usually gets created in two parts. First is definition, another is calling. Definition basically deals with defining what the function is going to do. Now I'm going to name this function. Of course, you can't call someone unless and until you don't know their name, right? Same goes in programming also. I want to create a function, and the name of the function will be show instructions. And how exactly the interpreter will understand it's a function? Because of this DEF keyword, right? And you know that this message will change, right? When we are releasing it, it will have to display that, press F to do this, press R to do this, right? If it has been released, we will have to say the turtle is released. So this instruction function will play a role over there. So that's why I need to use a parameter inside it, message. This message is basically a variable that's going to hold the message for us. If the turtle has been released, it will say turtle is released. If it is not released, that means it is still moving, right? So let's do that. I'm going to use text.clear. Once that is done, I'm going to make sure the turtle is moving to the center, however a little bit above. Okay, and then we are going to talk about write function, which actually helps us to write something on the turtle screen, not in the terminal, in the turtle screen. So I'm going to call this message. The part of this write function is responsible for writing any text on the turtle screen, not in the terminal. For that we have print statement. Now let's call some parameters inside it. So I'm going to use message function. I'm basically calling this message keyword, variable or a parameter inside this write function. I'm going to align that message into the center, and as well as I'm also going to call the font, and inside that I'm going to say Arial, which is basically the font family I want. 14 is going to be the size, and the font weight is going to be bold. You can also use italic, no worries. Now we are done, and this is only the function definition, right? I'm gonna write this one here. Let's see, function definition. Now we have told function what to do, what will happen when we use this function, but when are we going to use this function? For that we need function calling. So one calling I'm going to do over here. As this function only takes one parameter, that means we'll have to update the value of this variable. Currently, it does not have anything stored inside it. It's just a null value, right? But here, I'm going to give it value, which is basically a string. I'm going to use arrow keys or click to move, right? And this is another message that I want to show, R for reset. Okay, and F for release. As we have done the functions for instruction, it's time for the movement of the turtle. Let's go ahead. We are going to talk about movement functions now. Okay, now here again, I'm going to use the DEF keyword followed by the name of the function. So if I'm using the code to control the up arrow key, I'm giving the name to the function as move up, right? Now inside this, I'm going to check a condition. Now, if you are someone who is already aware, conditional statements are basically the set of conditions which helps you to take a decision, right? If the particular condition is true, this particular set of codes will be executed. If it is not true, the else statement will get executed. It basically helps the interpreter to take the decision and take the right one. Okay, now we are basically saying that it will only move if it is not released, right? Because if the turtle will be released, that means we can't control it, right? So that's why we are saying that if released, if not released, if it is not released, right? So for that, we are going to say player.setHeading. Now set heading basically helps us to set the heading of the turtle in only 4 directions. In 4 angles, we can say 0, 180, 270 and 360. Right, which is basically going to complete the full circle. Now here when we say if not released, not released means not or false is going to be true, right? So we are basically saying that if released, if the turtle is released here, then we will set the heading in the upward direction, and then the turtle will move forward somewhere 20 steps at a time, right? Now I'm going to use the same concept for the remaining 3 keys, which is for down. I'm simply going to use for down, not release. Now the set heading, set heading here for the upward direction, as I mentioned, it's going to be 90. For the downside, it's going to be 270. and then we are going to do the same. And here I'm going to use move right. So for right, as it is going to complete the full circle, it needs to be 0. And for the left, it's easy, 180. Because that's going to be our half circle. So left followed by set heading 180. This is how we can turn the head of the turtle. Now we are not using here left or right because left or right gives us the way we can use different angles, right? Here it's set heading, it's really compulsory to use these 4. Once that is done, we are also going to do the code for the click. So go to click. So basically I'm naming it as go to click. When I click on it, the turtle will go to this particular location, not a random location, only where the pointer is located on the screen. Okay, it's gonna help us to trace the current location of the pointer, mouse pointer. Again, let's use the if condition not released, and then we are going to use player dot go to followed by x comma y. Right, now this is done. We are also going to talk about the reset one. Reset. For the reset also, here we are going to use a special keyword known as global keyword, which is really important when we want to update a value of a variable throughout the program, and we want it to be the updated value to be accessed throughout the program, right? So this released variable will reflect its value globally, which means throughout the program we can access this value, right? And every single time the reset is happening, the value or the direction or the location of the turtle is changing, right? So here when we are saying released, it's gonna be set to false, because in reset we are not gonna release it, right? It's only gonna get released if we press the R key. That's it. Player dot go to. Now for the reset, if you remember, I'm going to bring it back to the center. And of course, I want the turtle to face it in the upward direction. So, in the right direction, to be more precise, I'm going to use set heading because that's the default direction of the turtle. So let's use 0. And then we are going to call our favorite function, which is going to be show instructions. Now here, the value of the message variable will again be set to use arrow keys to move and the click to move. Once this is done, we are ready with all the functions almost. Now we have another function which was the release, right? So release turtle. Now this release turtle will be responsible to check whether the F key was pressed or not, right? Now to do this, F click was done. Okay. Now for the reset, for the release, so we are talking about the release now. So let's talk about the release function now. So I'm going to say release turtle, okay? And this one is responsible to make the turtle go crazy and roam anywhere. Now again, its value of the variable released will get updated. So that's why I'm going to assign it to a global keyword. And then I'm going to make sure that released has been set to true. Now it will be set to true because that's what it really means, right? And then I'm going to again call the show functions, and here I'm going to use the turtle is free. Let's add I have some emojis with me, I can use that. So just to make it fancy, you can go to Emojipedia. I will link it here, and you can also add your favorite emojis. So for free, let me add a bird over here. This is done, and now of course when it will be released, it needs to wander on the screen, right? Randomly go anywhere. So again, we can create a function for that. Not only the function avoids the rewriting of the code, it also helps us to create a compact or a set or different sections in our program, which makes it easy to find the code related to a particular function, right? Related to a particular place. Here, it will be easy for me to find the function which is responsible to make the turtle wander around, right? Just by locating wander function. Forward, and I'm going to make sure the turtle takes little steps, not too much, and also turning it left randomly will help me to redirect the direction of the turtle anywhere. So random dot randint function, and randint is basically responsible to set the range, minimum and maximum range, but as it is saying randint, which means the range will only be in integer values, no float, no decimal values. And then I'm going to make sure that we have a screen timer on the screen. So let's say on timer, and I'm going to use this. See, it's different. It's simple. We don't want the turtle to wander like crazy, like, just keep turning, keep moving, keep turning. We want it to take time and then move forward, then turn. Basically, we want it to move and then stop for some millisecond, like 200 milliseconds, then take another step, then turn, like that. We don't want it to go like wander anywhere. And then once you declare a variable, once you define a function, you need to call it in order to use it. Now, here comes an interesting part. Now, once we are done with all the things, all the functions, now it's time to call those functions for the respective keys. Now, for that, it's really important to use a very important function which is known as listen. This is the one responsible to keep a check on everything or every event happening on the screen. So it basically says that focus on the turtle screen in order to collect key events. That's what we want, right? We want to control the turtle using these key events. Correct. Now, what key function are we going to use? OnKey function. So OnKey function is responsible to capture the keys and help us to assign functions related to the keys. Now here, all I need to do is, I'm going to copy it. I think using up will be better first. Up, and make sure the function name is correct. You can go up and check. So we have down, up, down, right, left. And yeah, okay, this is done. I'm going to use this one over here, and it's going to be the right. So up, down, right, these are the name of the keys, right, which we want to assign these functions to. So whenever we press these respective keys, the function assigned to it will be called left. This is done. Now this was only for keys, right? We do have one more key, which is basically reset, and the key that we are going to use is going to be R. You can use capital R or uppercase. We can use this R over here, and here also let me change it to small lowercase r and lowercase f. It will be easy, otherwise people will have to turn on the caps and then work. So screen dot on key. Now for release turtle, I will just simply use this function, copy it and paste it, and F. Right. Now once that is done, we have one more to go, which is going to be screen dot on click. Now this is another function which is going to capture the clicks happening on the screen. So go to click is there. Now I want the screen to continuously go ahead, continuously keep on running. So I'm going to use one more important loop, which is known as main loop, which will make sure that the game is on and it is continuously working. Now it's time for the result. Let's hit and run the code. Here we have it. Now you can see I am actually using the mouse click, right? Now if I press R, it will come at the center, right? And if I'm using up arrow key, it's moving in the upward direction. I can draw different shapes now. That's not a problem, because turtle is going to help me do that, right? And it's time to see the last magic, which is F, to release and see how it goes. And you'll see the turtle is free. So with the help of function, you can see this text got updated, which means the show instruction function is working perfectly fine, and the wander function is also working fine. This is how we can create this amazing game. And if you have stayed till now and worked with me, thank you for doing that. I really appreciate your efforts. Hope you liked the video. Make sure to subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you in the next one. Thank you for watching.